Well, hello from underneath my new hat. Wait, did somebody say spam? Hey, you! Instead of just sitting there, why don't you get over here and help me? Ready to rock out. Hi there. Spirit of the Wilderness, Ely, Minnesota. Just pulled in. Got a little bunkhouse here for tonight. It is the 24th of August, 2025. Actually, it's a really nice store in there. And I'm heading up Moose River North. Moose River North. Yeah, sure. Well, here's my bunkhouse. And it's actually one of the nicer bunkhouses I've ever stayed at. 2 doors, and here's my door. Time to bring in gear and unload gear. Got a small fridge. Accommodations are really nice. Bathroom, really nice shower. All right, let's get some gear and get going. Sorting. Then I need to go down once I got the vehicle unloaded and get the canoe. Got the car loaded up with the canoe from Paragus. Now I'm just going to go to the boathouse and grab a brewski and a bite to eat, then go back and sort gear and get ready. Get ready. Well, good morning. It's Monday, the 25th of August. Going on entry point 16, and this is pretty crowded. Lots of cars. So let me unload the buggy and start hauling down to the water. Here's the landing for entry point 16, Moose River North. Actually quite a nice landing. And the portage, as one of my fellow YouTubers called it, the Moose River Highway. A couple very small boardwalks, clear path, easy portage. Easy portage. Let's go back and grab the boat. On the water, about 9:30. I think I just did the longest portage of this whole trip, which is from the parking lot down to the landing, or the entry point. It's roughly 176 rods, but once again, it's very, very nice. I got 2 more portages before I hit Nina Moose Lake and probably a beaver dam or 2. So, what say we just boogie? Well, that didn't take long, about a 5-minute paddle to the first portage. You can see right over here, there's a beaver dam. So we go out on that side, float right up to those rocks. Landing looks pretty iffy, but looks like it's a beautiful little set of rapids there. Yeah. All right, let's knock this one out. 27 rods. Wow. A little bit of a mud hole here. But this is a sweet little portage. Basically an up and over. 27 rods is maybe a minute walk, 2-minute walk, even with gear. But this is a very, very popular area, and these portages are just in wonderful shape. Just in wonderful shape. Here's the up. And here's the over. Pretty substantial beaver dam here. Beautiful weather. Pretty easy portage. All right, got one more to go, about the same length. Let's get back on the water, get the boat over. we have a bonus portage. Another little beaver dam. Looks like, you know what? And just right up there is the portage I just came in on. So I think what I'm gonna do is pull the boat and go over here and drag the boat over. Busy beavers. Well, we're coming up on the actual second portage, when it's actually the third because of that beaver dam back there. And who knows how many more beaver dams that we're gonna run into on the way down here. So, what a nice day. I'm just in a lightweight sun shirt, and I got my, obviously my personal flotation device on, which has a little warmth in the body, but I'm just fine. Not like last year when I was up here in August, you know, it was like 100. Pretty. All right, let's tackle this portage. The landing at the portage, this is the going in the one portage, the short 27 rod, over the beaver dam, and the other 27 rod. So this should be the last portage until I get into Nina Moose Lake. Now, sadly, I brought the first load over, and someone left a Martin, campfire guitar. Since I'm going in the boundary waters, I'm going to leave it here, and hopefully someone going out of the boundary waters will pick it up and then put it on bwca.com in the Lost and Found, because a Martin instrument's a pretty darn nice instrument. All right, let's go get the boat. I'm ready to fly. All right, right before you enter into Nina Moose Lake, there's a great big hillside mountain that people pull over and climb. It's supposed to have a spectacular view. I would like to try to get across Nina Moose and head to Agnes. But we're starting to get a little bit of a wind coming out of the north, which is going to be right in my face. That looks really pretty. Maybe I'll tackle that on the way out. Who knows? I'm at the sand beach on Nina Moose Lake, and this acts like a beacon because I came across the lake. You know, the Moose River ends about there. I didn't film going across it because it was really gusty and windy. So I'm just gonna take a quick break here, stretch my legs, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and go up the river and get the oyster. I got 2 more portages, and on one I'll probably take and have a lunch break. What time is it now? It is about 10 to noon, so about 3 hours to get to this point, and probably another 3 hours to get to a campsite. So I should be hitting camp by about 3-ish. That's the goal, if I can find one. Fingers crossed. All right, let's rock. Well, this section of the Nina Moose River is pretty plugged with weeds. Makes it a little bit slow going, and every once in a while you have the wind in your face. But man, you got to keep diligent out here figuring out where you are, because you go off on these side channels, you might be lost for a while. Yeah. Well, first load, first portage, heading north to Agnes Lake. But it's got some interesting things on this portage. A little bit of a rock staircase here, or rock garden, or boulder field. And I'm walking south, and on my right is all kinds of falls. All kinds of rapids. Don't know if you can hear it. Just this massive boulder field. I mean, huge boulders. See if I can get her to walk out there. Look at that boulder field. Wow. Well, about halfway through, looks like the Forest Service came in and built an elevated Portage Trail. Boy, it really makes this much easier. No mud holes. Really appreciate the people that do that. Really appreciate it. On and on. Boulder fields. But I really enjoy portages that have like these slick rock features. Just gorgeous. All right, let's go get the boat and grab a bite to eat. I'm hungry. Beautiful. Well, I did the last portage. It was pretty crowded with people coming back from Lac La Croix. And I talked to a lot of people, and they said that most of the campsites are open on Agnes, and that's good because that's Agnes right up in there when I break through. Let's go find a campsite. What time is it? It's 20 after 2. Not bad time. But man, just the amount of rice fields that we went through, and kind of hard to navigate because you don't know where the hell you are. But we did it. All right, made it to Lake Agnes. I'll go through the stats later on, but roughly it took me about 6 hours. And this is kind of the campsite I wanted. Kind of unique. There's like boulders everywhere on this lake. And someone's made some mini chairs here. With all the grass and stuff growing in the fire pit, I don't know how often this sucker gets used. A lot of glacial erratics. It's on a slope. That doesn't bother me. And I think I found my 3 trees. Oh, look what else I found here. Ooh, some thingamabobs. Pink one. So I think I'm going to pitch the Una right here for a night. So I wake up, and that's my view. All right, first thing I got to do is unpack, filter water, get water, and then take some liquid IV. All right, let's go to work. Well, quick update. I like the site. Your legs get a heck of a workout with this slope. Got the Una stashed back in there. Had to do a little hunting to find some trees and monkey around with it to get it up. But she's back in there. Bear bag rope. Just freshened up. Now it's a little time for dinner. Let's get some firewood and split some wood. Huh. Battery says it got 72%. Just said it was dead. Anyway, just gonna whip up some dinner, have a quick fire. I'm pretty beat. All right, let's try this again with a different GoPro battery. The old one said it had 72% left, but it kept saying, nope, out of battery. When I pulled it out, the battery had fattened, so I think the battery's bad. Starting to get dark. Well, let's look at some stats. All right, so today the mileage was 11.1, total time about 6 hours, paddling distance 7.5 miles, paddling time about 3 hours. Here's an interesting one. Portage distance 3.7 miles. Of course, that's, 3 trips per portage. Portaging time, a little over 2 hours. So, long day. I'm tired. I hurt. That's good. I got a leisurely day planned tomorrow. Again, I'm on Agnes. I'm going to take the portage over to Oyster and hopefully get a campsite there, and then stay there 2 nights and do a day trip to a place I want to see if the weather holds, and then just slowly work back. So it's probably going to be an early evening, quick fire. Maybe I'll catch up on the fire, but I like this campsite. But when you're tired and your legs are sore, the incline's kind of a killer. All right, we'll talk in a bit. Good morning. Just a beautiful morning here on Agnes. Need to bust down camp, and we're going to head over to Oyster, which we're going to go down, do roughly about a 200 rod, I believe, portage to Oyster River. And the portage is right over there. And they get on the Oyster River and have another short portage into Oyster Lake. So now it's time to tear down camp. Man, I tell you, I came in yesterday pretty beat up. Didn't film much, just ate, had a very small fire and hit the hay. But we're up and we're ready. A little bit dewy, so I'm going to move some of the clothing down here to dry a little bit while I pack up. And I'll keep in touch along the way. All right, got camp pretty well packed up. Now I just got to put it in the packs. But I need some breakfast. I need some energy to do this, 166 rod portage over to, I think it's Oyster River, and then another 50 rod portage into Oyster. But the sun is kicking up. It's a little moist, it's a little warm. So I'm going to have a little breakfast back here consisting of cold cereal, granola. Yeah, granola. Let me chow. All right, got camp all broken down. We're having some struggles of what to do. I think I'm going to go ahead and take the portage over to Oyster and take a look at that. But my main concern is it just dawned on me, dumb me, when I made the reservations on late January. I didn't realize when I locked it in that this was the start of Memorial Day weekend. No, Labor Day weekend. And with Labor Day weekend, I just wonder if Nina Moose Lake's going to be full of sites, because that is going to be my last stop, my last night out. So I'm not coming in all the way in from Agnes again. But we'll see. It's only Tuesday. We got time. We'll tell. Out Saturday. Supposed to have thunder boomies one night. Well, that has to be one of the worst sites I've ever stayed at in the Boundary Waters. Sure, it's got some cool features, but the whole thing is a massive slope. There's not a flat place to put a tent, a chair, or a comfortable area just to sit and relax. So, sayonara. And this is the campsite just to the north of the portage over to Oyster Lake. And I am on Agnes. All right, off we go. Well, here's the Oyster River end of the portage between Agnes and Oyster, well, Oyster Lake, because you still got to go up and go that way. And then one more quick portage and you're into the lake. I think I'm going to adjust my plans. And here's my rationale. The original plan was to go today into Oyster, spend 2 nights, and one, the day in camp day to go up to Lake Gibeonike and go through Rocky Lake and Green Lake. But now they're calling for massive thunderstorms. And that's the only day I can do it. I don't think I want to endure this whole portage because there's several huge down trees on this portage. It's about, what, 170 rods, I believe. So it's not an overall tough portage, or there's some elevation change. It's just that, I've come to realize on this trip that the last solos I've been doing is I bring my really fun high-end gear and I base camp, and then I go out and do trips. Well, I have that same gear, and I'm trying to do this trip where I'm moving, I'm trying to, cover ground, and it's just too cumbersome. So I think next time I do a trip like this, which is coming up, I believe, in September, I'm going to bring my backpacking tent and my backpacking gear. And the rationale for that is, just the spring, the gear that holds up the hammock weighs more than the tent, my backpacking tent. I just picked up a Durston X Mid, and it weighs 2 pounds. And my straps and my buckles and everything weigh 3, and that's not including the tent and the poles and everything. So when I do these trips where I want to cover a lot of ground, I gotta bring different gear. It's not that I can't do it. It's just that at the end of the day, like I did 11 miles yesterday, when I got to camp, I was so flippin' tired and worn out that it was difficult to get in the mood to do anything but set up camp. So here's the process. Here's the thought for right now. Could change. I'm going to go back to Oyster and find a different campsite and really set up camp nicely. Spend 2 nights there, and then go down to Nina Moose and spend my last 2 nights there for a quick exit out on Saturday. Because what I want to do is there's limited campsites there, and I want to get a site before the crowd comes in for Labor Day weekend on Friday. So if I can get down there on Thursday, claim a site, it'll be a winner. So all right, back to the boat, back to Agnes. Here's an example of several of the impediments or trees across the portage trail. It's just at a height where you got to push the boat over, you can't duck under, and yeah, there's several of these. It does make for an interesting journey. Hey, I think I found my next home for 2 nights. I must have gone to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different campsites, and none of them just felt good to me. This one's got a little bit of a difficult landing. It's on the opposite side of the lake. There's a better landing down there I'll go get. Great place for a tarp, but it's got the perfect trees for Una. Look at this, these 3 trees right here. 1, 2, and 3. Right next to the lake. Oh. I love that tent. I love sleeping in the tent, but that's a base camping tent. Not meant to be moving as much as I've been trying to move. Tarp area. Fire grate's nice. Flat. Perfect for 1 person, me and my chair. Yeah, this is it. All right, let's go unload the boat, get her set up. And since we're talking about, or they are talking about thunder boomies tomorrow, I think I'll have the tarp at the ready. What a day. Right, it's Tuesday the 26th. So basically, think about being a solo, you can change plans. And what I've decided to do, I don't know if you can see this, is I came in on Moose River and took Moose River up through Nina Moose Lake, came up the Nina Moose River, 2 big portages, and into Lake Agnes, and went to this campsite. The idea today was to get up and take this portage across, paddle Oyster River, and paddle into Oyster Lake. The idea was then to go to Oyster Lake up to Gibeonike, but checking the weather, we're in for thunderstorms tomorrow. And the last thing I want to do is be stuck here and have to come all the way back, because the plan is, okay, I hiked the portage, there are several down trees, then I came and looked at this site, I looked at this site, I looked at this site, came over here, and I'm right here. And I'll stay here tonight, Tuesday, and tomorrow, Wednesday, due to rain. And then on Thursday, I'll get up and I'll cruise down here to Nina Moose and try to grab one of these campsites on Thursday night, spend Thursday night and Friday night, then back out on Saturday. But this campsite, unlike the other campsite, the more I was at the other campsite, the more I disliked it, because there wasn't a level place in it. Couldn't sit on a chair. Fire pit was not the most comfortable. So I cut some wood. I got the Una up. right next to the lake, which is absolutely awesome. But what a intimate little campsite for one person. It's perfect. I'm going to use the inReach here in a second and figure out what the weather is going to be for tonight and tomorrow. Figure out if I'm going to put up a tarp. But let me show you a no-no never to do on a boundary water campsite. Let's see. Here's the trail. A lot of old growth. The other interesting thing is all the campsites on the west side of Oyster Lake all have, you know, smooth, you know, Canadian shield running down to the water. Where here on the east side, it's all boulders. And trying to get out of a canoe by yourself is a difficult thing to do at best. But when you're on Canadian shield, look at that. There's the... Now, one thing never to do in a campsite is dig under a rock shaped like this. Because you know what that means. That used to be a pit toilet and it got moved over here. But thoroughly enjoying this campsite. Tomorrow I hope to get some fishing in and really explore Lake Agnes. Yum. Tuesday night dinner. Burritos. So I got 3 tortilla shells on the plate. The burritos are coming up. Of course, you got to have your little shahuli and a Kit Kat. Man, that other campsite, I can't describe how much of a hassle it was because everything was slanted down. Here I got my Schwarzenbean table out, which makes organization great. Camp's all set up. I got a tarp set up back in there. I'm just going to enjoy the evening. I might wet a line too. Yeah. Hello, moon. Good night, sun. Camp is cleaned. Got the packs hung. And the food is hung. So between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, after dinner, it's a very brief, but very important social hour. I sit and talk to myself and have a fire. If not, I use my iPhone and I'll listen to a book on tape and have a fire. And maybe a libation. And it's off to sleep in the sky. Well, good morning. Wednesday. Yep, we had quite the rain last night. I stayed high and dry. I'm seeing some blue sky here this morning, which is a good thing. So it's going to be a camp. I think I'm going to go fishing today. Go out in the lake, row around, but first and foremost, I gotta get the packs down and make some coffee. So let's make coffee. Hey, guess what? It's coffee time. This is my morning face, isn't it pretty? Well, I've learned a lot on this trip so far. Other trips I've taken, I've gone in a reasonable distance and set up camp and then did a bunch of day trips. This trip, I wanted to make it all the way over to Oyster Lake and then camp there for 2 nights and then go north on a day trip out of there to Gibeonike because there's a campsite up there with really fantastic furniture built in. But it's not to be. Couple factors. When I normally trip, I go in a good distance, you know, several portages, maybe 3 or 4, and set up base camp and then do day trips. Well, I brought the same gear that I use for those types of trips on this one. You know, I've got my Una tent, which is heavy. I've got a lot of toys, which are heavy, and it just didn't fly. Um, the original plan was to come here to Lake Agnes, and then again do the about 200-yard portage over to Oyster River, then another 65-rod portage out of the Oyster River to Oyster Lake, and then to a campsite on the peninsula over there where I've seen a lot of people use it. Fantastic. And then again, do the trip up to Gibeonike and back, and then work back to this lake, Oyster, then back to Nina Moose. Well, I made it up here the first day. It was 6 hours, and basically I'm about 12 miles in. A lot of portages, a lot of beaver dams, a lot of waiting at portages. They don't call this the Moose River Highway because it's pretty crowded at times. But I'm just sitting here enjoying my coffee with my toys. I'm going to get ready to make my eggs. I love my eggs in the Boundary Waters with my naan bread, and get the boat and just putz around, fish, relax. I did listen to the weather radio, and they're talking about thunderstorms this afternoon, so we'll see how the day goes. But yes, I finally actually drug a tripod. That's why I can talk to you like this and be on camera once in a while, rather than the perspective of here's what I'm seeing and take a look. So, cheers. Hope if you're watching this, you're having a great day. Oh. Oh, delish. It always amazes me when you get these old growth cedars basically growing on top of a rock. And there's a lot of them here. There's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One is dead though. And it's just really, really cool. Calling for thunderstorms. So I got everything organized and under the tarp, just in case I got to rush and get in there. Sky looks good on the south, but on the north, it's getting kind of dark. The wind is blowing west-southwest. Or basically almost exactly from the west. Dishes are done. Had my egg extraordinaire, the Boundary Waters. Love it, love it, love it. One more cup of coffee. Guess I gotta make a mad dash. Tensioned up the tarp on the Una. Yeah, the Una. Oh, look at this. Moss on rocks. Moss on the rocks. Love it. I feel like a leprechaun should be popping up anytime soon. Alrighty. In all my videos I talk how much I love this tent, and it is an absolute awesome tent. Tensile Una. So freaking comfortable. Totally lay flat. But the issue I'm running into on this trip is things like this I need to reevaluate. The tent with the underquilt, I don't know if you can see that, alone is about, I want to say, 4 pounds. But the kicker is all of the mechanicals, the ratchets and the straps and the web locks alone are about 3 pounds. And yet I just purchased a tent for backpacking, a Durston X Mid 1. It's 2 pounds. 2 pounds. It's lighter than the mechanicals on this. So when I do these long trips where there's a lot of portages, I'm going to have to start becoming a ground sleeper. I refuse to go to a gathered end hammock or bridge hammock because I just don't like the feeling of being compressed inside of a hammock, unless I'm just lounging and reading. So if things work out, I do have a trip planned for mid-September where I'm going to try to go in on Cross Bay. I think it's entry point 50, and try to go down to Long Island Lake. So for that, I might become a ground sleeper. The other issue with the Una is you need 3 trees pretty much in a dead triangle. And yesterday when I decided to move, I went to 2 other campsites, actually 3 other campsites, and couldn't find adequate trees. So it's another negative on this thing, but when you get in it and it's pitched right, it is the most comfortable sleep ever. And I do like the fact I can wake up in the morning and look out and watch a beaver swim by. And that's exactly what happened today. Campsite 1810 on Agnes Lake. All right, this is my little bitch session. Nice site, really rocky out here. Though you go down a ways and there's a little nook that's got a gravelly bottom that's easy to land and get out and load and unload. But now, my bitch session. Don't do that. That's a tripping hazard. Cut it off flush. And especially, don't rape the birch trees. That's going to kill them. It's going to kill the trees. And the birch are up here in the north are struggling enough due to climate change. I mean, look how the birch bark is just stripped. A-holes. I mean, the trees are done. Just a matter of time. Don't do that. All right, that's enough. Hey, you! Instead of just sitting there, why don't you get over here and help me? Yeah, look at that pile of wood. Last night at this campsite, and I gotta tell you, what a weird day. It rained and it got calm, then it got windy and it rained again and it got calm. No rain, it's been on and off, and now look at the sky. So starting to do some pre-packing. The tarp is still up, got things laid out, and tonight I'm doing a spam sandwich. Spam sandwich, one of my favorites, on a tortilla shell with Arby's sauce and horsey sauce. Mmm. Wait, did somebody say spam? Sizzle and mmm. End of day Wednesday. Yeah, nice fire going. Plenty of lumber. Today was one of those days where, as I mentioned earlier, it'll rain, it'll storm, it'll calm. Be nice. It'll rain, it'll storm, it'll calm. It'll be nice. That went on for, gosh, I want to say majority of the day. So I did wet a fishing line, nothing. I didn't feel like going out in the boat because due to how unpredictable everything was. So I read a book. I read half a book. It's all about the 1999 July 4th blowdown in the Boundary Waters. It's a fascinating book. So that's what I did today. And cut wood, and took some videos, ate some food, did my pre-packing because I want to get out early. Early, very early tomorrow. So with that, I'm going to have a little snort by the fire and then headed to bed. Great day. Always nice to be up here. Even though when plans don't go as what you're hoping for, it's always such a peaceful, beautiful place just to unwind and relax. Good night. That's not the moonrise. That's my tent out there. Good morning. 6 o'clock Thursday morning. Looks like a clear sky, a little bit of marine weather still hanging in, fog. I like to get on the water early because it's moving day. Going down to Nina Moose. All right, let's tear some stuff down and make it happen. Gorgeous morning, about 7:30 on Agnes, heading out through the rice fields down to Nina Moose. A couple portages and we should be there. What a glorious day. Whoop, I said glorious. What a beautiful day. Lake Agnes. Really, really beautiful. Well, this is a fun section. This is all wild rice. Wow. So, no kayak paddle here. It's just plowing through this stuff. Well, I guess I had to stretch my legs. It's the first beaver dam pullover. I'm sure there's a lot more to come. Now, when I came in, I busted off a little section and floated it over there, but that's all been rebuilt. This is a pretty good sized beaver dam. Alright, first portage. First portage. You know what, these little waterfalls and rapids, they just never get old. They always are inspiring. Well, we're back at the sandbar on Nina Moose Lake. And now we got to keep our fingers crossed so we can find a campsite. Because this lake gets crowded, so let's go for a campsite hunt. Yeah. I found my final home for this trip. I think this is the highest rated campsite on this lake. The lake is Nina Moose. Look at that slab. Yeah, I'm liking it. I'm liking this a lot. Get the morning sun. I don't mind sunsets, but I really like the morning. I like the sun rises. Pretty big site for a soloist, but I'll take it. All right, let's get to work. Don't know if you can see that, but right out there, there's a gentleman with a stand-up paddleboard and a pack on front and a pack on back. And there's 3 more of them behind him. Again, there's a little sandbar that marks the entrance to the Moose River, or Nina Moose River. And this is the second campsite on the west side when you first come in from the Nina Moose River. I gotta tell you, this is the 3rd campsite in this trip, and this is a nice one. This is a nice one. It's pretty big space. Got some creature comforts. It does have some bizarre things. Perfect place for the Una. I got up, it was a little bit dewy this morning, so I got things drying out. But take a look at this. Well, there's one weird thing about this campsite. Okay, I'm standing here, and right there is the toilet in plain view. Okay. I don't know how we would protect our modesty when out here in a group, but look at this tree. Look at this old growth tree that's down. I gotta get out of here. Nice tent pads here. Look at that sucker. Man, That's got to be 3 feet across, if anything. Wow. That's behemoth. I'm on a quest for firewood. I might go out and soak a line. There was another campsite I was considering, but I can see now it's already taken. This is going to be a party lake starting tomorrow. That's why I'm here today, and I'm going to call it and boogie out tomorrow. Because the last thing I want to do is be back in the woods and hearing people whoop it up in different campsites around the lake. But what a I will say glorious. What a fantastic campsite. Oh well, it's wood time. Let me start wood gnoming. Man, it's just a gorgeous day here on Needlemoose Lake. Camp's set up, so I'm just taking a little stroll, looking at campsites. Now the one right there on the point is the one I've seen a couple different videos on that's absolutely just overrun with poison ivy. And then my campsite's just on the other side of the lake. And this is campsite 1817 with this beautiful landing. So let's go take a peek. On a little point. Oh, yeah. Level. Kind of swampy on that side. One thing I've noticed on this trip, I'm not swatting bugs. There's been very few times where I've had mosquitoes buzzing around. Maybe it's because I'm wearing a sun shirt and I got the hoodie up all the time and I treated it with Parentheon. So maybe the stuff works. Even right at dusk, they're not bad. The only thing that might be some kind of trouble is this is a swampy ground. Yeah. I did find some poison ivy at my site, but not to the level that I've seen on videos on that point site right over there. But yeah, site 1817, Needlemoose Lake. So Needlemoose Lake is not something I'd call a great lake. From what I've looked at it, right out in the middle, you know, there's still lily pads and weeds growing up, so it's probably not a very deep lake. I did try to fish it. I basically paddled the whole lake this afternoon, looked at a few campsites, and the lake ain't much. But boy, am I enjoying this campsite. Man, if all the campsites in the Boundary Waters was like this, I wouldn't need to bring those little toy tables. I'm all organized for dinner. Got the fire loaded, all organized on my packs. Tonight, we're having red quinoa with wild mushrooms. Oh boy. And a piece of naan bread, and of course, my Kit Kat. This is the book I was talking about, Gunflint Falling, The Blowdown. Fascinating. Good read. The other thing is, you know, bugs. Very few bugs. I've really enjoyed wearing this sun shirt. And it's treated so I don't get anything, you know, in around the face, which is excellent. And plus, when I'm out in the water, it keeps the sun off me. That and the baseball cap. It's lightweight. It's ripe. It needs to get washed. Okay. Time to relax before dinner. with that view. Oh yeah, oh yeah. That looks really interesting. Let's do a taste. Ooh, look at the mushrooms. Look at the wild mushrooms. From the view, you know what? That's a keeper. I think it's like 400 plus calories. Didn't have to add or doctor it. But of course, I will add a piece of naan bread. So delicious. I'm gonna eat. I think these kinds of rocks are so magnificent. I believe this is called Canadian Shield, or it could be granite. Man, wow. This campsite has a lot of personality on a lake that doesn't have any personality. That's what RW says. Almost fire time. But this is just massive. Scraped by the glacier. And leave some glacial erratics behind. Let's still get that fire fired up. Good morning. Friday morning. I believe it's the 24th. Got down to mid-40s last night. I remained toasty warm. But now it's on to some coffee. Coffee. Man, the stars last night were just stunning. Just stunning. Well, it's 8:15. I'm torn down, packed up, and getting ready to hit the water. 8:15 should put me back at the entry point by about 11:30, 12. I can just see how we made out then. Let's go. Yeah, boys and girls. Well, there you have it. Campsite 1789, 5-star campsite on a probably a 1.5 to 2-star lake. All right, let's head to the entry point. I'm always amazed at how quick the beavers work. That beaver dam right there, a pullover, was not here when I came in on Monday. All right, onward we go. Number 2, pullover beaver dam. This one I did hit coming in. I remember this one. Always fun. All right, I'm up and over. Now, what makes these things a little bit tricky is I'm in a one-person canoe. Okay, a solo. Seat's in the middle of the canoe. So to try to get in and out of these things, especially on a beaver dam, is not that easy. So the first thing I do is take a paddle and I push on the bottom to make sure that it's firm enough so I can get out of the boat and stand up. If you recall, funny enough, I went on a trip a couple of years ago on Moose River South, and it was a gigantic beaver dam. Well, going in, I had no issue. Step up, push the boat, step over. Now, on this one, and the boat's moving away from me, I gotta grab it. On this one, like coming back out, then I hit the same beaver dam, stepped out, and basically broke through the top of the beaver dam, went up to my waist in muck. Got a couple inches of water in the boat, but made it out predominantly unscathed. All right, let's continue on up the river. Right there is that huge rock that's listed as a lookout point that you can hike up to. There's an inlet down here to get there, but it's not on my agenda today. But that's the view coming from the north to the south. Pretty neat. I just like these little windy rivers, even though they're congested with beaver dams, but always in the search for wildlife. I'm seeing lots of signs, but not seeing anything. Yes, number 3. Interestingly, this one's built on a sandbar, so hopefully that sand's firm and I can just drag the boat across there. Oh joy, number 3. Beaver dam so far today. And here's a dam that's been pulled apart. So that doesn't count as a pullover. So we're still at 3 pullovers. Holy buckets. Looks like I'm at the first port already. And there's 2, roughly about, less than 30 rods. All right. Gosh, I like these, small little rivers that actually have land on either side, rather than just swamp as far as you can see. All right, let's grunt. All right, I finished the one portage. Now we're heading up to another portage that's roughly less than 30 rods. Quick up and over. Love these small rivers. Just passed 2 groups going in. One are a bunch of young men going all the way up to Loch LaCroix. The other was a group of 2 families going to Agnes. So I told them of my campsite recommendations, and they were all happy to hear that the bugs were virtually non-existent, which is true. All right, get down to some serious paddling here. Wow. I remember this section coming in. You have to basically dodge rocks to get through here. Let's see how we do. And there's rocks right beneath the surface. All right, looks like we gotta go over here. It's interesting, you can see all the little scrapes on the top of these rocks. polarized sunglasses do help, but it's cloudy, so I'm not wearing my sunglasses. There, made it through unscathed. Yeah, a little adventure. I think around this corner is another drag over beaver dam. Let's see. Not yet. These wayward rocks. Glacial erratics. Going, I missed the drag over part. So here's a drag over. Try to get it up on the grass. That way you don't hurt the Kevlar. Oh. And that's a drag over. Ooh, just found a hole. Crotch deep. All right, what's that? What? Drag over number 4? I think. And it looks like here's the final portage before we get to the portage to the entry point. This is a pretty decent landing as I remember. Yeah. Yeah. I think we came in on this side. A little bit of a mud hole. All right. Let's portage. Well, hello from underneath my new hat. Portaging, portaging. We like to go portaging. Well, I finished that portage and I was going to film the whole thing, but about halfway through, people started coming up here and portaging, obviously. And there were 4 groups that came through. So the time is now, let me see, it's about 10:45, and this is why they called this the Nina Highway. So far coming out, I've seen at least 6 or 7 canoes loaded, some going as far north as Lac LaCroix. To me, I'm heading to the last portage to the parking lot. See you there. So here we are, the last portage to the parking lot. A little bit of a long one, so I'm going to take my time. Plus it's all uphill. Pack's a little bit lighter, so that should be better. But what I've been kind of lamenting and concerned about this whole trip is before I came up here, I had 4 brand new tires put on my vehicle, which is a Toyota Highlander. And everything was fine. Drove up here, picked up the canoe, had a meal, then on the way to the bunkhouse, all of a sudden I got this notification that all the tire pressure sensors were bad or not communicating or whatever. Of course I'm freaking out, thinking, does that mean they're all gonna go flat? So when I woke up in the morning, I noticed they hadn't lost any pressure. So I went to a gas station, filled them up to 35, cold, and came to the entry point. So brand new tires, sensors bad, it must be something electronical or electronic. So I was hoping that I don't get to the car and have 1, 2, 3, or all 4 tires flat, because then what the truck do I do? So let's go find out. At the EP, let's go look at tires, shall we? Parking lot's filled up. Here we go. Fine, fine. Fine, fine. Yee-haw! Let's go get the boat. The end of the trip. Back in Paragus, dropping off the canoe, and then gonna head back to Duluth. DQ, yeah. A little lift me up to get me back to Duluth. A little sugar bus going on.